Well, let's ask that of our next guest. Joining us now, Julia Seymour, Assistant Managing Editor for the Business and Media Institute at the Media Research Center. Julia, thank you for Skyping in from Washington.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, the networks have acknowledged the falling gas prices, but almost completely avoided giving the credit to one important development. What is that development, and why are they staying away from it?
Well, as you already pointed out, fracking, hydraulic fracturing for natural gas and oil from shale is a huge part of the reason the United States has nearly doubled its domestic supply of oil and gas since 2008. And the networks, ABC, CBS, and NBC, have talked about falling prices of oil and gas, but they've ignored fracking in those stories 93% of the time.
Julia, do you think their non-coverage is politically motivated?
I think it's consistent with their position on fossil fuels, which is oppositional. They have long promoted climate alarmism and blamed fossil fuels for basically killing the planet. So they're being consistent here in not giving credit to hydraulic fracturing.
And with that in mind, some of the beneficial fallout of fracking has been what has transpired in North Dakota. Has there been any coverage of the economic boom in North Dakota? And if so, has it always come with the, well, there's an underbelly to this progress and the challenges of growing so fast, so quickly, and what that means to a state like North Dakota?
That's a great question. I definitely remember seeing a story here and there a couple of years ago about the North Dakota oil boom. And I don't remember exactly how those were covered, but they seem to be fairly positive. But in the recent coverage of what we looked at with falling prices, they're not talking about this. They're not making a connection. And one story in particular on the NBC, they had an analyst on, an energy expert, who said that the reason supplies here are increasing is because of development in areas like North Dakota, and they stopped just short of explaining what that development is.
Oh, so they just kind of left it out there. Now, I would imagine when it comes to fracking, there have been efforts to link that with seismic activity in states like Oklahoma. I would imagine the alphabet networks don't hesitate a nanosecond to cover that type of, or to make that link between fracking and some of the seismic activity that we've seen recently in the Midwest.
Yes, I know. I haven't done recent coverage of fracking. I haven't looked at that, but I've done many analysis of fracking coverage in the past, and what I found was certainly they make connections to earthquakes and seismic activity. They also show things like flaming water faucets without any context whatsoever. Without admitting that historically you've been able to light water on fire in certain places in Pennsylvania and New York since the 1800s.
Well, we all remember, although my friends in Cleveland don't like me talking about the lake being ablaze back in the 70s. Bottom line on this, Julia, 15 seconds. It all boils down to media bias in the coverage, at least with the alphabets, correct?
Absolutely. This is totally biased. They're not admitting something they don't want to admit.
Julia Seymour, monitoring what happens with business coverage at the Business and Media Institute at the Media Research Center. We thank you very much for your time and for what you had to say. And I know her research will continue as we continue here, Hour 2 of America's Forum. Straight ahead now on Newsmax TV.